Hello and welcome. Today we'll be setting up the E-Flite UMX Twin Otter with this DX6E. This programming is applicable to all DX G2 radios. Let's start by selecting a blank model. We'll scroll down in the function list all the way down to System Setup. Click System Setup. This warns us that entering this menu will disable our RF deck. Click Yes. And you'll notice the light on the transmitter went out, indicating that there's no signal being transmitted while we're in this System Setup list. Now scroll down one click to Model Select and click the scroll wheel and scroll down to Add New Model. Click Create. And there we have a brand new model with a blank setup. Luckily, the UMX Twin Otter does not require much programming. The blank setup programming already has much of what we need. Push the back button. It'll take us to our home screen. And click the scroll wheel again to get to the function list. We'll start by setting up our DR and Expo. These are our dual rates. Per the manual, it suggests we use a high rate of 100% and a low rate of 70%. Having a low rate decreases the aircraft's surface deflection and makes the aircraft more manageable to fly. Starting with our aileron channel that's already selected, we'll go down to where it says Switch On, and then click, and here we'll choose a switch to control our dual rates. In this case, I will use my B switch to control my dual rates. When the switch is in the 0 position, where it is now, the dual rate should be at 100%. Flip the switch to the 1 position, and then move to the 100%. Click, and then scroll left. And decrease all the way down to 70%. Then scroll to Expo, click, and scroll right to 10%. Adding a little bit of Expo reduces the sensitivity that is in the center of the stick. Now we can see when we flip back to the 0 position, our rates are at 100%, and when we flip back to the 1 position, they lower down to 70% with a 10% Expo. In this position, the aircraft will be a little more manageable and easier to fly. Now let's repeat the procedure on the elevator and rudder channel. I'll scroll up to where it says aileron, click, choose elevator, scroll down to switch, scroll to switch B, select. Now I'll flip the switch from 0 to 1 and then change the dual rate down to 70. Then to Expo, click, and change to 10%. I'll flip back to 0, and now we'll go up to elevator and change it to rudder. And we'll do it all over one more time. And there we go. Now our dual rates are set up as they should be per the manual. Now we can push the back button to take us back to the function list. Now we can go down to Throttle Cut. Click on Throttle Cut, and we'll scroll down to where it says Inhibit, and click, and scroll to the right to choose a switch. The H switch is most commonly used for throttle cut, and that's the one I'll be using. Click to lock it in, And just by choosing a switch for our throttle cut, it's automatically set to negative 100%. And that's exactly where we want it. When we flip our throttle cut on, when we move our throttle stick up and down, our throttle channel does not change. When we flip throttle cut off, we see that it can move as we move the stick. Throttle cut is very important and should be utilized with any aircraft to prevent any unwanted motor spin up. Now that our throttle cut is set, push the back button. And the last thing our manual recommends is to set the timer. If we go down to timer in the function list and click, we can see that the timer is already set for us at 5 minutes, and it starts whenever we bring the throttle stick above the 25% mark. That is already exactly where we want it. The manual suggests a flight time of 5 minutes before landing. Now our transmitter is fully programmed for the UMX Twin Otter. We can change the name of our model by going into the function list and then down to System Setup. And down to Model Name. Hello and welcome to this programming tutorial for the E-Flite UMX Twin Otter. Today we'll be using an NX10. This program instructions is applicable for all NX transmitters. Let's start by selecting a new model. Click the scroll wheel and scroll down on the function list all the way down to System Setup. Click. This notifies that the RF deck will be disabled as we go into this menu. Go down and click Yes. You'll notice the light on the transmitter shut off. That indicates that there's no signal being transmitted. Now scroll to the right one click to Model Select and click down on the scroll wheel. Now we'll go to Add New Model and scroll down to Create. All right, now we've got a brand new model selected on the transmitter. Luckily, the UMX Twin Otter does not require a whole lot of programming outside of the default settings on the transmitter. Push the back button, takes us back to the home screen. Click the scroll wheel again to go back to the function list, and we'll scroll down to DR and Expo to set our dual rates. The manual recommends our high rates be set at 100% and low rates at 70%. We can see we're already on the aileron channel and the rates are at 100%. Let's scroll down to the switch setting and click where it says On. Now scroll to the right to choose the switch you'd like to use. I'm going to be using the B switch. With the B switch in the 0 position, we see we're at 100% rates, exactly where we want to be. Flip the B switch to the 1 position, and now we can scroll up to the rates, click on them, and scroll left to bring them down to 70%. Now that we have the rates set and locked in, we can scroll down to Expo and click, and now scroll to the right until we get to 10%. Having a lower rate will limit the deflection of our surfaces on the aircraft. Having an Expo of 10% will reduce the sensitivity of the stick. These two together will make the aircraft easier to fly. You can see that when we flip the B switch back to the 0 position, we're back to 100% rates with no expo. Now, we need to repeat the steps with the elevator and rudder channel. Scroll to where it says aileron, click, and scroll one over to elevator. Select elevator, and scroll down to switch. Click, and select the B switch again. Now flip the B switch to the 1 position, and now go to the rate column and change those 100% down to 70. Click to lock it in, and scroll down and we'll bring our expo up to 10%. And again, flipping back and forth, you can see the curve moving from 100% to 70% with 10% expo. And finally, we'll do the same thing to our rudder. Wonderful. Now that our dual rates are set up, we can push the back button and go down to throttle cut. Now we'll scroll down to where it says inhibit, and now we can assign a switch. The H switch is most commonly used for throttle cut, and that's what I will be using. Just by selecting the switch, we can see it's already set to negative 100%. That is exactly what we want. When we flip the throttle cut on, we see the throttle channel gets locked at negative 100%. So if we accidentally bump the throttle stick up, that throttle channel will not move. This will eliminate the possibility of an accidental motor spin-up. Now that we have our dual rates and throttle cut set up, push the back button to take us back to the function list. The manual of the Twin Otter recommends we set the timer to 5 minutes. If we scroll down, we can find the menu of the timer, and we find with our new model, the timer is already set exactly where we need it, to 5 minutes, as the manual suggests. Push the back button twice to take us back to the main screen. This transmitter is now programmed and ready to go for the UMX Twin Otter. We can change the name of the model by going to the System Setup list again, and then Model Name. Hello and welcome to this transmitter tutorial for the E-Flite UMX Twin Otter. Today we're using the iX14, but these programming instructions are applicable to any iX radio. Let's start by selecting a brand new model. We'll select the marker here at the top and proceed to turn off the RF deck. Here we're at the Model Utilities menu. We'll click the 3 dots at the top right and click Add New Model. Model options, we'll select default and airplane. Create. Wonderful. Now push the back button, and now we're back at our home screen. The manual suggests we set a timer for 5 minutes. The default programming already has the timer set for 5 minutes. The manual also recommends we set up a throttle cut switch and a dual rate switch. Let's do that now. Select Model Adjust, throttle cut. And here we can choose a switch to be our throttle cut. Click on Inhibit and select a switch. The H switch is most commonly used for throttle cut, and that's what I'll be using. Just by selecting a switch, we can see it's already set to negative 100%, exactly where we want it. When we flip the throttle cut switch, it disables our throttle channel, keeping it at negative 100 even if we bump the throttle stick. Now that we've got our throttle cut set, let's move on to our dual rates. Going back to the Model Adjust menu, we can click on Dual Rates and Expo. The channel already selected for us is the aileron channel. Go to Switch and click On. Here we can select a dual rate switch. I'll be using the B switch. The manual recommends that we have high rates of 100% and low rates of 70% with 10% expo. I'll move my B switch to the 1 position and I'll set the dual rates to 70%. Push OK. And now we'll change the expo from 0 to 10%. Now, we'll scroll back up and go ahead and flip your B switch back to the 0 position. Now we can click on aileron and choose elevator, and we'll now repeat the same process. We have our 0 position giving us 100% rates. Flip that to the 1 position, and now we'll change the rates down to 70 with a 10% expo. And set the switch to the B switch. And now we'll do the same for the rudder channel. Okay, now that our dual rates and expo are set up as they should be, go back to the main menu. And this transmitter is now programmed and ready to fly the UMX Twin Otter. We can change the name of our model by clicking on the name, proceed, click on the arrow next to the model, Thank you for joining me in this tutorial. Remember, you can use these same program instructions for all of the iX radios.